So why don't we know what's going on in classrooms? Well, again, last night we suggested, what's the answer? Why shouldn't we? And not surprising, a lot of people were very offended by this. You don't have a right to know. Shut up and send your kids. Don't ask questions about what they're learning about, what kind of people they're becoming. Matt Walsh hosts the Matt Walsh Show. He's one of the wise ones. We want to ask his view of this. Matt Walsh, thanks so much for coming on tonight. This is one of these things that someone suggested to me in conversation yesterday morning. I wish I'd thought of it myself. Maybe people have been talking about it. I didn't know. The second I heard it, I thought, well, that's the most obvious thing I've ever heard. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that, I guess? Let me ask you that question.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I have to admit that the reform I would prefer for the public school system is to just destroy it, reform it with a wrecking ball. I don't think it should exist at all. But if it's going to exist, then it makes total sense that obviously we should want to know what our kids are being taught when they're in these government buildings. Maybe I think there are a lot of parents who don't want to confront or acknowledge what exactly they're doing when they send their kid to public school. You're sending them to a government building for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, 9 months a year for 12 years. That's what's happening. You should want to know what is going on, what's going on inside that building when they're there all that time. Now, I think there's the real reason why the left doesn't want this, and then there's the reason that they give us, which of course oftentimes are two different things. The reason they give us is that it's a privacy concern, or it's even a free speech concern. But first of all, teachers as government employees, in their capacity as government employees working with kids, they shouldn't get privacy or free speech any more than I want, a bank teller. If I'm making a deposit of a lot of cash, I don't want them to turn the cameras off and go into a back room and say, oh, I need some privacy while I do this. No, we don't want privacy in your capacity handling money. You send your dog to a dog boarder. They've got webcams now so you can check in anytime. So why wouldn't we want that kind of oversight with kids? And I think the real reason, aside from the reason that they give us, the real reason is that they don't want us to know what goes on inside that building. Well, but and they don't think, as you said, we have a right to know.
I mean, look, let's be totally blunt here. Most teachers are great. I'm married to a former teacher. I'm not against teachers, but some teachers are creepy. And we know that because they want to talk to other people's prepubescent kids about sex in pretty detailed ways. You're a creep if you do that. Let's just be totally clear about it. So anyone who'd want to talk to like a third grader about sex practices, don't you think we need to have a camera on that person?
Yeah, and that's another thing where that shouldn't be happening at all, even with a camera.
I agree.
But it does happen, and so we should have that kind of oversight. I think if there's anything, you just think of it like this: is there anything that could happen inside a public school classroom that you absolutely would not want on film? And if you can think of something that could happen like that, it shouldn't be happening in the classroom to begin with. Whatever's happening there should be open for anyone to see, or at least you could have the cameras in there, and parents who have custody of children could have they could be password protected,
Exactly.
And they could have the password access. There are many ways of doing this that make a lot of sense, I think.
But your point is the best point, and I wish I'd said it. If there's something happening in a public school that shouldn't be on film, it shouldn't be happening in the first place. And it's kind of an unassailable point of reasoning, and I appreciate it. Matt Walsh, thank you.
Thanks a lot.